Europe's banks need to start making muppets of savers. BP should prepare for more aggro in Russia, and why the Swiss should just stop complaining and join the euro. I think it's the message from Breakingviews. Let's ask Chris Hughes. I'll come on to I kind of a little bit of license there, you know. I added a few words. Yeah. We'll come on and see if that's fair in just a sec. Let's start with Spain. Or Europe's banks, you say, should stop making muppets of savers. Spanish banks are a good example of this, i.e. selling the retail customer pretty complex products that don't actually get them anywhere.
Well, what they're being sold is what look actually like quite simple products, so, you know, bonds. But the trouble is, of course, there is a big difference between retail deposits, which may be insured, and the government, the banks' own bonds, which will be ranked lower down the capital structure. So when there is a possible situation where there could be some haircutting involved and those bonds are in the line of fire, then you've got the poor retail investor taking losses on these securities. And of course, it's not as if they went into the purchase with a clear understanding of the relative risks of retail deposits and, you know, subordinated debt or some, you know, odd kind of hybrid debt instrument.
And let's face it, we've been having this discussion for years and years and years.
Well, that's why
how the consumer gets hit by this type of banking.
We're saying enough is enough. It is time for this to be banned, so that actually retail investors cannot find themselves buying this stuff when they may be under the impression that it is as safe as a deposit.
Again, Chris, consumer groups, union groups have been fighting so hard against this, asking for a certain type of regulation. It's just not happening.
Well, look, the crisis is a chance, obviously, to make things happen that have been hard to do previously, and this is a classic case, you know, where you've got investors who are actually, you know, they're lured by the rather tempting rates on offer. You know, you're going to get a smidgen on your current account, but you're looking at maybe sort of 5% yield on some of these bonds. It's easy to see why they're lured in, and that's why you actually need regulation to come in and protect them.
Okay. Whether you're hopeful or not, that's for another day. Whether that's going to happen. All right, let's talk about BP. The latest Russian spat spells more aggro. This is a piece you wrote. This is on the back of the departure of Mikhail Fridman as the head of TNK BP, the joint venture. You think this is the start of something much bigger?
Yeah, we do, and of course we've been here before. Now, the history of TNK BP, which is BP's joint venture in Russia, has been pretty tempestuous, and whenever there's a flare-up of relations between the two shareholders, BP and AAR, which is a small group of so-called oligarchs, everyone says, oh, well, this is going to reach the end now. There's one party's going to buy out the other. And it never happens, because actually that deal where one party takes full control is very hard to do. We came close last year in the wake of BP's Rosneft alliance, which caused all sorts of problems with TNK-BP, and there was a possibility there that it might get full control. And I think it's fair to say it's still hard to see how one side takes control, but I think probably we can say that this is probably the beginning of the end game. I mean, BP's influence in Russia is not what it was. So when TNK-BP starts to sort of become a bit dramatic, as we're seeing now, BP's got fewer allies to keep the whole thing together. So I think if you put it in the context of BP's declining influence in Russia, you can see how this might actually be the beginning of possibly actually AAR buying out BP.
Okay, and then finally, the Swiss and the euro. I mean, I don't think it was unfair of me to say they should stop complaining and just join the euro. I mean, they've been trying to defend this 120 position. Yeah. It's getting harder and harder and harder. Joining the euro at a reasonable rate, say 140, might be a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it wouldn't be a cost-free option.
They'll spend the next 5 years bailing out the peripheral countries, wouldn't they?
Exactly. The problem is they've got this very strong currency because the Swiss franc is a safe haven asset, and so lots of switching out of euros into Swiss francs.
You need to do one of your famous Breakingviews calculators and work out whether the amount of money they need to spend on bailing out the periphery it makes up for is worth the 140 rate that they get. I'm sure you can do a calculator on that.
I suspect if we presented it to the Swiss in those terms with a very visible graphic of the costs that would come with it in terms of effectively becoming the next Germany and taking on these problems that it's currently excluded from, it might focus the mind a bit.
All right, Chris, thanks a lot. For more Agenda Setting Insight, watch our US Breaking Views show. That comes on every day, 12:30 Eastern, 17:30 BST. You can find all this stuff, of course, on Reuters.com and the Insider platform. I'm Axel Threlfall. This is Reuters.